What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Player One vs. World and Lost Records Journal. This is just a quick PSA before this episode. So for context, we actually revealed in the episode that Olivia Lepore, Swan Holloway's motion capture and VO actor, is coming on the podcast. We're recording the day after that podcast, so we're recording the 27th of April. That podcast was recording the 26th of April. We have now changed the schedule around, so we want the Olivia interview out immediately, and then we're going to put this episode out. So for purposes, you're going to get the same content. It's review the reviews. It's Adam's segment that he suggested, and we're keeping that. But basically, I'm not editing out, it's episode 28 or whatever. It's just for future time's sake. If you do come to this podcast at a later date, you're not confused by the episode numbers, because otherwise it's going to be a nightmare for me to delete. But yeah, I hope you enjoy this episode. Obviously, we recorded the day before and everything's going to say, hopefully, time, it's not time sensitive. But obviously, again, thank you to Olivia when she came on as well. I hope you really enjoyed that podcast. We had an absolute blast speaking to her, and I'm sure we'll have her back on in the future as well, where you guys can ask questions as well. But without further ado, enjoy this episode. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Lost Records Journal, Player One vs. World's Lost Records Focus podcast. I am one of your co-hosts, George Riaz, and my other co-host, the Ravens of the Abyss.
The Eagle. Yeah, this is an eagle, not a raven. I'm not a Baltimore fan, man.
You're going to have to become a Baltimore fan, because the Abyss is clearly a Baltimore fan, so you're going to have to agree to that acknowledgement.
Great. I mean, I don't know what's worse, like saying you're from Baltimore or saying you're from Philly. I really don't know. So leave it in the comments down below, guys. What's up, everybody? What's worse, Baltimore or Philly? Write it in the comments down below.
Yeah, I don't actually know which one's worse out of that. That's actually a pretty...
I want to say
Philly.
Philly's more known for being actual D-bags. But Baltimore, I like to argue that Baltimore is more dangerous than Philly is, but it depends where you are, who you ask. But fly, Eagles, fly, baby.
Fly, Eagles, fly. Yeah. So perfect timing as well, because we are now back as well. This will be the final. I think this is one of the last episodes, or it might be, depending on schedules as well, because we've got a lot going on. This is episode 28 of the Lost Records Journal. If you are new here, as always, please do consider dropping subscribe on the channel, turn on notifications, like this video. Otherwise, I don't have to tell you anymore now. You know what's going to happen. I'm going to kick you in there. No, actually, me, Adam, and Abby are going to float in the air in synergy with the Abyss, and you're going to go in. That's what's going to happen. We're going to have that really rare ending. It's going to happen. She's just going to come out of nowhere, and that's what's going to happen. Who has played it as well and has finished it as well, and I will do a podcast with her at some point, because she's got some interesting feelings on that game as well. But yeah, please like the video, share your friends, subscribe. It helps support the channel as well. It helps boost our visibility. We're almost at 1,800 subscribers, so thank you so much for that. We've got a lot more views recently on a lot of our Lost Records content and Strange Cast and stuff, so thank you so much. It's deeply appreciated. And the Lost Records Journal is available on all podcast services, so available on Spotify with a video version. Apple Podcasts, we're available on all of them. On Spotify with 27 ratings, 5 stars, which is amazing, so thank you so much for that. We have 107 followers now, so we've had a lot of followers. Fantastic. That always has to happen, doesn't it? So we have 107 followers, so please do follow us on there. You get instant access to your episodes as soon as they become available, and that's always an important part. So Adam, we're back. Obviously, we waited to do this episode because this is a format that you brought in for the tape one, and I think it's always a great format that you brought in as well.
I think I stole this from Maddie Plays too. I stole this format. Oh well. You stole it from me, who I stole from. That's art. Art is just stolen art. That's all it is.
We don't want to be giving Mr. Matt some royalties or something. But anyway, we really like this format. We should have really done this for double exposure, but that's a shame. Yeah, we're going to bring this format back in because I said to Adam, we're waiting for the reviews to come in and get some Metacritic scores and the OpenCritic score, which is now starting to appear. And we've got a lot of the review scores, so we're going to go into that. I think next month, Adam, we'll probably do our review episode. I think we're planning to do a full-scale review of the game. And when we play it through and then kind of give it a full-on score, because we did a review separately. So I think we'll address that. And if you are new here, as always, as well, I said this as well, this is very much spoiler heavy. Don't listen to this podcast if you have not played this game now. Strangecast is very much marked with spoilers now around Lost Record stuff. But for now, because this game is out, we have to talk about spoilers. So go and play the game, then come back and watch this podcast. And also, we are being very beige at the moment with thumbnails, but they will get intensified because there'll be some topics we'll have to talk about. It's going to be hard to do them. It's very hard to hide Cat at the moment. I can't do it with tape 2 because it's like she's got short hair. So I'm like, the minute that I post something out, it's going to be like, oh, that's a bit of, it feels like a spoiler. So you have been warned, and it's my last time I'm going to warn you about this. And again, this is the last time I'm going to put this message out here. We are still playing through this game. there are variations that are like spinning my head of this game that are happening in certain scenes. Like even Swan's mask color can change as well. Do you when in the second tape when you
Yeah.
go on arson spree? Like bear with us because I want to play it rather than see every cutscene. I've already seen certain things; they have been spoiled, but just give us some time with it as well. If we have got something wrong, please do clarify, but don't like do it in an obnoxious way because it's like it's annoying then because it's like we are going to play it and we do want to keep playing it and we've got a lot of time with this game as well because it was really enjoyable. So yeah, we're in the aftermath of tape 2, and I think this is where we're going to start with this podcast. And I will say this now: we got a teasing announcement at the end of this. It could also be removed depending on schedules and time, but hopefully I can confirm it at the end of this and it stays in for this episode. But anyway, Adam, should we start things off?
Yeah, let's start off on the pitch.
Start off on the pitch, and that is always important. But Adam, before we start on the pitch, I'm going to
Ah,
give a shout out here because we are recording on Saturday, the 26th of April, and it was Mr. Luc Baghadoust's birthday on 25th of
hey,
April. So this episode is dedicated all to him. It is his birthday. He's the Don't Nod Montreal executive producer, Lost Records Bloom and Rage executive producer. So a big shout out to Mr. Luc Baghadoust. But I wanted to kind of give you some other little tea as well, Adam, because obviously, as you can see in our caption, all the work that Luke did, associate producer, and then executive producer on the games that he worked on, Remember Me, Life is Strange, Captain Spirit, Life is Strange 2, and Lost
Still's
Records,
never seen the
Bloom and
X
Rage.
Files.
Yep, it's in there. 16 years of Don't Nod. He marked this year as well, number one hot dog fan, which I think took off you as well, even though it was a bit disputable day, but we'll leave her to dispute that. And then
Yep.
never seen the X Files. But Adam, I'm going to show you something here as well. Look what happens here. We put it out, and then is the gaffer, Michel Coe, who
Wow.
still doesn't follow. Michel still doesn't follow us on Blue Sky. I
How
am,
dare you?
yeah, but even there, look, Michel said he's never really watched the X File, and I'm like, and there it
Yeah.
is in
Wow.
2024, and responding to Michel as well, of all people. That's
Yeah.
the wild part. Look at that, me who's never seen the X File episode, and there's Life is 2D as well. I think he's giving a bit of
Mhm.
compensation there for Luke to not be thrown in the abyss, but I don't know. Look, Adam, here he is. We have updates on this. We have X file updates as well from Luke, but still
Wow.
not haha. Since we've shipped Lost Records, maybe now it's time to start. And then underneath it, Sam Bradley, the talented artist on Lost Records, Bloom and Rage,
Who
unbelievable
does
artwork.
follow us on Blue Sky, I believe.
He does. I'm pretty. He does. Yeah. Look,
Oh, yeah.
there we go. Follows you, Sam Bradley, W, Luke Baghadoust, W. Even if he hasn't
Yeah.
watched it, but Michelle, this is almost the X Files level of like shockingness of not following us on Blue Sky. But anyway, as you can see, as you can see, Sam Bradley put what breaking news? We'll be delaying the release of our next game by however long it takes you to watch the X Files. And I think that's something we support. So no more lost records for anyone. It's not
Mm.
happening until this man watches the X Files. It's going to happen. So
Rip.
there's that. And there you see as well, Luke's responding there says, "Thanks. There's so many episodes that it's scary to start." So justice for the X Files. That's the main thing I think we started off with. So we are addressing that. We'll make sure he watches it. That's I find it wild though that as well. To be friends with Michelle and never watch the X Files. That's like being friends with him and never watching Twin Peaks. That's
Yeah.
what I'm gonna like compare it to, but just me. Anyway, should we get into our segment, Adam? The big
Yeah.
one.
Definitely.
So, Adam, I have carefully put this on Twitter. It's on Blue Sky as well. If you do want to go and follow us there, I've just pulled up Twitter because of the sake of it. I've been following the review scores, a lot of them, a lot of them. So these are the review scores that are coming in. A lot of the obviously it descends in order. There's 4 tweets here, so they go down in rating. So there's a variation of different publications at the minute. GameSpot has got a review in progress at the minute, and yeah, GameSpot's got a review in progress. IGN has not reviewed it yet at all, which I think is still shocking as well.
Mm.
But quite a few different publications from different backgrounds. You have like more like The Guardian, for example, loves it. Seen like a really positive reviews in there. Checkpoint, Game Reactor. There's Xbox achievements. Horror Fuel give it a 10 out of 10. Monster Fine give it a 5 out of 5. Hardcore Gamer, my old
Yeah.
stomping ground, gave it a
Hey.
4.5.
Yeah.
Games Red, I gave it a 4.5. Gaming Trend 90, so there's quite a few, and then even on the more wild end, even like Eurogamer down here, I think give it a 3 out of 5, which is
Mm.
interesting.
That
And then
is
even like
yeah,
yeah,
those Euro people. You know, they don't know what's good if it came to them. You know.
They're like, "Oh, bloody hell, the abyss has opened up," and 3.5, there you go, or free actually. They didn't get 3.5. Like, oh, free, there we go.
The
PlayStation
gamer.
Universe 3.3, 3.5, quite a few different ones. So just pull that up and give you context, so you can go and see that on Twitter as well if you want. And yeah, very different score ranges to start with. There's quite a few out there, and obviously we've got the Metacritic pages open as well, and OpenCritic, and we've got different. We have the different comparisons as well to make. So I think, Adam, let's just go on Metacritic for the moment. So Lost Records Bloom Rage Tape 2 on Metacritic at the moment, at time ranking, has a 67 based on 11 critic reviews. This is the PlayStation 5 aggregator. On PC has
Mm,
9 reviews and it has 77. These are a lot less reviews than Tape 1, as you'll see in a moment. And the
yeah.
review average user score is 6.9, but no one cares about that because it's just probably the same idiot commenting saying woke or something random, like have no
Yeah.
life. So you have quite a variation of different scores there. And it has scored a little bit low. We'll come on to OpenCritic in a moment, but I'll just pull up
Yeah.
Tape Ones and then we'll delve into one or two of the reviews and we'll have a look. We'll have a look and see what's happening. So as you can see there, Metacritic, Tape 1, 35 reviews just on the PlayStation 5 version alone. Obviously, PC has 84. Usually the consoles are the more aggregated, but in Lost Records' case as well, I think because it's on Steam, I think some of the reviews will filter over there. So 75, obviously, is 6.4,
Yeah.
252 ratings. But again, let's not take the user review scores serious. But we did this on the last episode as well of the review the reviews, so you can go and check that out. But it is scoring a little bit less than that.
Mm.
And I think we scored it a lot higher when we did our review. Obviously, we gave it a lot much more favorable. But should we take a dive into the review scores, Adam, or do you want to say
Of
something
course, we'll
before
have a look. Of course.
that? Let's take a look then. So let's go on the review scores. This we'll stick with the PS5 version for now. So
Okay.
would you like to go positive first or like negative?
I want to see the negatives right now because I saw a
You want to go
35
negative?
in that. Are you kidding
Yeah, I
me?
don't know how that scores of that scale because that what was PlayStation Universe's score then when I put it? So PlayStation Universe gave it a 3.5 out of 5, but for some reason that doesn't feel like it translates. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That
Because it
should be
wouldn't
like
be a
a
35.
60, not a 30.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that
What the
aggregate. So one of the things I noticed with Metacritic is it's struggling to pull through the reviews on different things because even
Yeah.
tape on OpenCritic as well, some of the reviews for Tape 2 are flying into Tape 1. So, because obviously it's
Mhm.
split apart, and I don't think many games do this anymore because it's split things apart. The review scores are like funneling into different sections, which I'm not really, I think this again raises my concerns about um, certain parts of the game where it shouldn't be it should just be released in one copy, but we'll do that for another video as well. Obviously, Kotaku's there as well. Life is Strange, Supernatural, teen drama probably didn't need two parts, but its conclusion was well worth it. Maybe we'll come into that. But should we start with PSU then? We can go into
Yeah,
that and see what they
definitely.
say. Okay, so let's go into share tabs instead. So hopefully it's pulled up. Can you see the screen? Yes, you can.
I can.
So
Yeah.
there is Lost Records Bloom Rage Tape 2 review. Life is Complicated. This is from Joe Richards on PSU. Um, this was a 3.5 out of 5 score that we were giving to Lost Records. The review has been published there. And should we go into the final words here? Let's have a look at it. So the final word is Lost Records is a visually gorgeous game and proves that the team who pioneered Life is Strange still have the aesthetic nailed down. Unfortunately, this and some smart adaptations of mechanics do little to hide a story that tries in vain to recapture the same energy, manage to totally lose itself by the end. I can see what they are doing here, but that vision is lost in a game that doesn't know what it wants to commit to. A deeply personal story is subsumed by
Yeah.
what feels like an obligation to the supernatural. A story about the supernatural is lost in a story about the personal. Neither is done justice, and both feel like they deserved more. So that's that. And quickly just kind of go into conclusion there. These characters thrive in their quiet moments and shared adoration of each other. Tape 2 has a distinct lack of this unity. Lost Records still has strengths of interesting mechanical twists. The video camera is a genius way of recontextualizing the environment you explore and forces you to soak in the details. It's in these broad strokes that Lost Records provides anything of interest. And it just so happens that the camera becomes less prevalent in this episode, which it does become less prevalent. I would say
Mm.
that as well,
Yeah.
in certain ways. The atmosphere of Velvet Cove is immaculate. Every area has a timeless sense of place, and it deserves a much better story to share. There generally isn't much more than I can say without jumping into direct spoilers for the story, but as it stands, this is one of the harshest dips in quality I've seen for an episodic game. It's a genuine shame. Now, I'm going to say something to this person as well. If you
Hot
like to
take.
see if you'd like to see
Wow.
dips in quality, you should play the Council. There's where you see a dip in quality. I love my boys at the French studio, Big Bad Wolf, but there's a dip in quality at the end of an episodic
Yeah.
game. So let's get that quite clear. Um, I think that's quite a hot take. The
Dipping.
end of that.
Yeah. Wow, dude. There was like another comment that we had that said like the conclusion for double exposure was better than the conclusion of this game. I was like, are you hot take? Hot
Yeah, I don't
take.
believe that for a minute, considering the conclusion of Double Exposure is like not the
Yeah.
original one, but yeah, as you will.
Yeah. I agree with like some points in there. Sure. Like again, like the camera not being as relevant in the second episode, sure.
Mhm.
But to say like, oh, the dip in quality, like, what are you talking about? I don't understand that one. Like, I don't like again, that's subjective. Like what
Yeah.
you think is a dip is up to you. But yeah, I don't think it dipped at all. Like, what do you think?
No, no, I don't think it dips in quality. The pacing's very different. The pacing can be,
Hmm.
I think,
Yeah.
erratic at times, where it's like it's fast, it's slow, it's fast, it's slow. Some of the characters do go quite extreme because their personalities
Yeah.
start to really kind of pull through. Does it dip in quality? No, I don't think that. I think it's
I've
quite
seen
solid.
I've seen other dips in quality. Like again, like there's random Telltale games. Like I would say the Telltale Batman game dips in quality, you know? But for
Oh
episodic
yeah.
games, yeah, like even the council, like it's good, but like man, it just goes off the rails, dude. Like, and that's even saying like I wouldn't even say like the council is an example of dip in quality. It's just more of like it goes insane.
Doesn't land. It doesn't
It
land.
doesn't land. Yeah. No, but like, yeah, that's hot takes coming from PlayStation. Hot takes. I don't know.
Yeah, that PSU review score, I agree with certain parts because I think that the camera point is very right as well. I don't think the camera is used as much. There's also an argument that you don't need to use it as much because the story has picked up as it has done, and you're revisiting key locations, barring like maybe Cat's dad's ranch or Cat's
Yeah.
family's ranch, by way of putting it. That's where you could probably use the camera, but because you're revisiting a lot of the environments, you probably picked up a lot of it already, or only going to slightly change. Um, in itself as well, the argument can be made with that where the fact that Swan's camera is taken as well. So she loses a part of it, and it's part of her character development. Because I think that one of the most poignant scenes in part two is the fact that you can press the R1 button when on the PlayStation version at least, you can press R1 when Swan loses her camera and she's like, I miss my camera. And then
Yeah.
you get the camera back later in Velvet Cove when she's an adult and it goes from first person to third person. So it feels like she's become a full person again, like a complete person. So it feels like it adds that. So I think intentionally they did take the camera away from you because it feels very outlasty when they do that, when the camera is taken away from you at one point. And that adds to the gameplay experience because, again, why would you have like a camera when you're at the farm with like, Gertie and all the other characters? You did lose camera at that point, didn't you? Yeah, it happens after it. Yeah, so when you're at Gertie, why would you have the camera? Imagine that. Yeah, let me just film the arson whilst I'm doing it. And in itself, that's a plot device. Corey has it because then he's filming things. He's like, he knows that you guys have done it.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, hot take. I think in certain respects, I
Hot
think the
take.
review is fair on certain things, at least in certain parts of that measurement. But I think the way it's kind of said, see, again, I think one of the two of the comments on the last episode were interesting because they did kind of agree with this story is told from someone's vision and from their perspective, and they're grounding what they think is they're giving a fine line between the supernatural and personal. And as I said as well, I wasn't disappointed the way that some people are about the ending because the other enhancements during the supernatural elements, the
Mm.
abyss and stuff like that, that's the stuff that powers the story. And I've not seen so far, at least, just off the some of the reviews I've read, I've been reading them for my bedtime. Been reading for my bedtime. But like, I've not seen anyone say, for example, Swan's coming of age story is done, and it's like it's a true coming of. No one is focusing on that. It feels
Yeah.
like it's always this is not explained, and that's not explained, and that's not done. And where's tape 3 and where's tape 6?
Yeah.
I feel like you need to sit back for a moment and think about it because one thing I said, I was talking to Abby about this before, and I was talking on a podcast. She was saying, I think I got the good ending. Do you know where it's like the four characters are there and they're doing the thing? And
Yeah.
I said to her just in a message, I was like, it's funny what you define as a good ending and what you define as a bad ending. And I've seen people throw that around quite a lot because you have one of the endings where people think it's bad, where it's just Swan on her own, and yet you
I
really
love
like it. Yeah,
I
but it's
yeah.
fun though.
That's what I mean, like, okay, I love it. I think that's a good ending because as wacky as I am on this podcast, putting on this character of, like, wacky Adam, I am an introvert. I do like to be by myself a lot.
Yeah.
That could be because I'm an only child, so, I don't mind my own company. In fact, I'm like, you ever seen a parakeet with a mirror and the mirror's in it and they start kissing the mirror?
I haven't, but that'll be a sight to behold now. It's in my
Oh, you
head.
never seen that? Yeah, literally, if you go into a parakeet, like, you give them a mirror, they, like, enthralled with the mirror. Yeah, that's me. I love my own company. I start kissing my mirror, like, before I get on this podcast, I love myself. But, no, for me personally, I thought that was a good ending because, yeah, I could relate to that, just being
Yeah.
by myself. And my wife. My wife is there, but
Yeah,
me
and the mysteries and the supernatural and stuff. You've been told that this is a series that's been greenlit, and we don't know if it's a direct sequel. We don't know if it's an anthology. They might change their mind on things. Maybe the way that the game ends with Cat and Swan, it lets you connect a universe where other characters will come in. Because if the abyss is in one place, who's to say another young generation of people don't come across and find it and then meet Swan or Corey or you know, uh, any of the characters, anyone who's in the abyss. We don't
Yeah.
know if Swan's actually in. Well, she says at the end of the void, but let's Kat and Corey are in there. We don't know who's going to meet which character, so there's quite a lot of possibilities. But for me, there was a self-contained story about four girls and the summer that they had reconnecting. And even when we did the last interview with Michelle, when we were talking about in the podcast, he said that the most important part of the game where it was set up was around the bar because you're reconnecting, aren't you? You're reconnecting with the story. You're building relationships, or you're seeing fractured relationships, and I took that way as the story. And I don't think so far, at least in that review, even the ending, they didn't even acknowledge that in the end part of the review, saying that, oh, Swan's story is like this personal, and it's like it feels like it's kind of mixing things. Maybe, but maybe you were trying to mix between the two of them. Um, the Guardian has a very good perspective on it. I think we'll pull that one up. Remind
Yeah,
me
let's
later
do
because I
that
think
one.
it's a yeah, okay. I think it's a good idea. But Adam,
Yeah.
3.5 out of 5. Joe Richards from PSU. Is he going in the abyss?
I'm going to, walk up to him so he starts backing up to the abyss, but I won't be kicking him. I'll just be
You don't
like,
walk up to people. You're the Ravens, remember?
well, I'll fly up to them. I don't know.
There
I'll
we go.
just I'll squawk at him a little bit until he, like, backs up into the abyss. So, yeah,
Oh.
I won't push him, but I'll just squawk, you know.
Oh, so he will fall on his own accord into the abyss.
Yeah, he needs to go on his own. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I'm sorry if you ever watched this, but you go into the abyss.
Yeah.
The custodial sentence has been. I'm gonna get a gavel actually for the podcast. I'm gonna start hitting it when we send people in. But you are going into the abyss. Unfortunately, I think that review is fair on certain points. I think the camera one was a very fair point. But other parts, no, not having it.
Mm,
Right, Adam, we're going scrolling back up. So the Guardian has given it a more positive review. It's the second more positive one that's been added on here. So we're going to pull it up here. Oh God, there's just the adverts and everything in between it. Love the websites. And as you can see on screen as well, and if you're listening, we have this at the Guardian newspaper. It's a UK newspaper. Bloody hell, reviews are coming in. And this is from Keith Stewart as well. I do like reading Keith Stewart stuff as well. Who's given it 4 out of 5. It's Lost Records, Bloom and Rage, Tape 2 review, Love, Grief, and Self Recrimination as the girls reunite, which is quite cool as a title there. So Adam, towards the end as well down here, Keith Stewart has put. Should we read the last two paragraphs, if anything?
yeah.
Tape 2 ends on an ambiguous note, though I think it is utterly true to the experience of playing. The mysterious hole in the woods, which the characters call the Abyss, can be interpreted as entirely symbolic, as can all the supernatural events in the game. And this is a brave, credible narrative decision. Sometimes there are no answers, and sometimes the magic we perceived around us when we were young turns out to have been something entirely else, perhaps just friendship or imagination, or the yearning to be something in the world. The effect is like Stranger Things, directed by Kelly Reichardt. I know who she is, but I can't.
Record. Yeah.
Reichardt, a realist fantasy in which silence and ambiguity come to the fore. Lost Records is ultimately a game about love, grief, and self recrimination, and the different intensities of those forces as we age. By the end, you miss the optimism and fear of those girls in the woods, as though you were one of them, and quite possibly, in a lot of ways, you were. And Adam, for a fun bit of trivia as well here, Kelly. Keith Stewart put this out on Blue Sky, and Desiree Sifre, who's one of the American writers who worked on this game, doing the dialogue with Nina Friedman. That was her professor
No
at
way.
university. Yeah,
That's
that was one
awesome,
of
dude.
her that's one of her professors at university. She tweeted about it. She was like, "I can't believe we mentioned the review, but, like, that's one of the people that was there when I was at university as a professor," and it's like, wow, that's amazing.
That's cool. Yeah.
Um, so yeah, this is a 4 out of 5 review, Adam, as well. I think that there was quite a few points there as well. They even put it in here as well. We're going spoiler heavy as well. What you get instead, and some incredibly poignant narrative scenes as the girls battle with the reality of Kat's diagnosis and the raw ambiguity of their feelings for each other. Two moments stand out, especially Swan and Nora meeting alone one afternoon, talking and exchanging gifts, every word, every gesture, communicating a mass of unspoken feelings. Then Swan sneaking into Kat's bedroom and helping her cut her hair before chemotherapy takes it. This is some of the most profound, sensitively structured, and emotionally resonant writing about the teenage experience of love and loss I've encountered in a video game. So, a lot of praise from Keith Stewart in the review, and it is there. So, 4 out of 5. I would think that review kind of aligns with what we were thinking when we reviewed it, and it was more
Yeah.
about the supernatural elements don't overshadow what the experience was within the game. And it's like how you interpret things are different. So like when we very much said that point where it's like Michelle's telling this story and what people have done with like theories and created this kind of conceptualized idea that they think their things are going to play out, that this is going to happen. And we had like theory videos and discussions as well. And we were saying like, it doesn't matter to us that there's an episode that says, wow, we think Cat will live, because like ultimately we were wrong, because that's not the story that was being told. Like theories are created to be disproved or proven. And
Mm,
you don't have to sit there taking like a righteous finger being like, oh, I was right about everything. I'm very much wrong with a lot of things. And you have to be like a brave man to admit something like that usually, but we weren't wrong about that. But I think the way he's interpreted that is how I saw it at the end of the game. Because I was like, yes, there's more you could tell here, but you might also cause more like damage in terms of canon and also what people conceive as canon and their personal choices. Maybe there is a story you can extend with Swan and Cap in some capacity, which can respect other parts of the game. But I think his interpretation was very good of that. I thought that was very much what I saw as the Abyss as well, where it's like this, it's just a factor there. It's more about the experience of these characters.
dang. Yeah, no, it was that's a good take from him. Uh, yeah, I think he got I like what you were saying. Like, there's nothing more I can really add to that. It's like he understood the game, he understood the assignment. Um, what were some critiques? Because I didn't really see any critiques like stand out in that article. Like to give it a
Um,
4 instead of a 5. You know?
Maybe here. Let
Hmm.
me pull it up for you. It looks like there. Yeah, obviously, when you usually like end up scoring high, it's like, you don't have that. So while the first installment focused on the excitement and hubris of the teenage
Yes.
characters, this is a much darker story concentrating on the adults as they pick apart their lives through dialogue trees and interactive memory segments. You help Swan navigate. Let's skip this anyway. There you go.
There's
So
less
here's
of the
critique.
food gamer.
Yeah, so there's also much less gameplay. An early scene where you have to pack the box, and a later stealth sequence where you sneak into Cat's bedroom are the only real moments of ludic challenge. I missed taking more of an active role, which fair enough. This kind of relates to the
Yeah.
PSU review, where, for example, the camera isn't used as much, and it does feel like this is almost like um, episode 5 of Life is Strange in certain parts, where it's like it feels like there's a sequence there, like the stealth sequence, but then
Mhm.
not much else going on it. By the way, as well, we didn't even talk about this in the review. That Packer box, did you get it in 3 minutes? The trophy or the achievement?
No, it took me 2 times to get it. Cause yeah, the way like I got to the last piece going into the box, and then I noticed the
Yeah,
makeup is in an L shape. And I was like, "Wait, it's in an I thought it was 2 separate pieces." And that threw me off entirely, so I had to redo the entire box.
I almost had it. I messed up towards the end as well. So second
Yeah.
playthrough will hopefully get that. It was funny though when I did. I was like, oh, it's actually quite funny, like as a segment. Um,
Yeah.
that's I think a good critique though about the
Yeah,
gameplay. I don't think
sure.
there's, and I think this is where, for example, the two tapes are uneven, and why this game should just been like one part, because I think it would have made more sense where you start getting story heavy and you've already connected all the gameplay experience. Um, because obviously I think like he laces it there where it's like, the you get more poignant cutscenes because of like the fact like we're not doing this, and it is true as well, because like that entire opening sequence as well, the first part, the nightmare sequence, you're basically just walking with Swan, aren't you? You're not actually playing anything or doing anything.
Yeah.
Um, so I think, yeah, I think that's a fair critique, and I think that would be one of the critiques I think would. happily label in the game as well. I think that there's more room to explore, like more of a, a second tape which has the same strengths as the first tape, and I think it always reminds me as well where it says like there's less cutscenes. Metal Gear Solid 4 was guilty for that with Kojima.
Yeah,
It was
absolutely.
very much criticized because like even the third chapter was like a large portion of it was just following one person and doing it. In my eyes, that game is a masterpiece, but I still see the critiques where it's like there's so many cutscene heavy moments in it. But I think this was an interesting review. That I think the perspective that he gives, at least Keith Stewart, where he's talking about the overarching message of the story, I like as well. I think that was what I took away from the experience. And I have been reading other people's critiques of the story. I'm a bit like, I just don't. I'm sorry, I just don't. I can't agree with like that's the interpretation because I think the interpretations have to be different, and I think that's what makes really great art. So it's like, as I said to Abby, what is a bad ending in this game and what is a good ending, and that is purely subjective. Everyone has thrown those terms around. Where it's like it's a bad ending or it's a good ending. Is it? Take Life is
Yeah,
Strange too. Does Sean dying mean it's a bad ending, or can it
yeah,
just mean, or can it just be, for example, seen as a he's he's completed his story and his character has evolved to the point it's done and it's naturally progressing to that point. There's no good or bad endings. Like name me one Michelle game that has a good or bad ending. Even the first Life is Strange game. That's
yeah,
perception, isn't it? Is there a
yeah,
good or bad choice? Both have morality factors playing into it. Same with this game.
yeah,
It has loads of that. So I think it was an interesting review from Keith Stewart, and I think that's a good one. Mr. Stewart, I believe, and I'm gonna take an executive decision. I think he escapes the abyss with his
yeah.
review.
No, like critiques were fair. Everything else, like he knew off the bat like what the game was about. So,
Yeah.
yeah, good takes.
Yes, Mr. Stewart, you have escaped, and you can start with the Velvet Guardian to represent Velvet Cove to tell that
Yes.
story. So I think that's good. So Adam, going back to the reviews, um, should we go for the middle or should we go back down to the bottom again?
Let's go one middle one before we go to another episode.
Eurogamer?
Yeah, why not?
Have a look and see what Eurogamer is going to. Are we on Eurogamer screen? Yes, we are. So here we are. Tom Phillips from Eurogamer, Lost Records, Bloomer Rage, Tape 2 review, good grief. Oh God, I hate Eurogamer when they do the puns as well. Yes. Tom Phillips here, bloody hell English lad,
Yeah.
and we're getting straight onto the review. So they gave it a 3 out of 5,
Mm.
which is an interesting one. So it's quite finely balanced on the game. I'm pretty sure Life is 2D took some issues with this review. It might be in the comments actually. He's going to be in the comments. Should we have a look at this? Is Life is 2D mentioned? Where is he? Come on.
There he
Yeah.
is. Yeah.
There he is. Woo.
Yeah.
You had to be there. Anyway, right, Adam, end of the review. Let's go down there.
Yes.
We'll have a look at this. Oh, there's a big chunky paragraph, two of them. Let's read through these.
Okay.
So it's here I have to discuss the game handling of this in more details and where I'd encourage anyone who hasn't played Tape 2 for themselves to skip forward to the next paragraph. Well, anyway, let's just read this. So, in short, though, my feelings on it are decidedly mixed. Ahead of time, I made peace with the game, likely offering one of two routes forward, for better or worse, and perhaps offering a choice between them. Most likely, I thought you would be able to save Kat from her cancer, although not without some kind of magical sacrifice. Perhaps the reason why the group broke off their friendships and disbanded for several decades. Alternative, I saw the game taking perhaps the braver option to accept Kat's fate as a tragic ending that was simply truer to real life, that her condition was something not even magic could alter, regardless of how you might wish for it. Either would have been a satisfying for different reasons, a fan servicey twist of fate with a bittersweet cost, or a proper tearjerker for a brilliant character that I was getting ready to grieve. Frustratingly, though, Tape 2 picks the road without any such finality, nor the emotional catharsis such as ending provides. It repeatedly tugs on the heartstrings through the use of familiar post-death storytelling staples, newly found footage, ghostly appearance, and more, while simultaneously still suggesting Kat can be saved, maybe in a future game, by extraordinary post-credit scenes that robs her her death of its impact and feels like an advert for a sequel. For now, who knows, may never come. To sum up, then, and welcome back if you skipped the above, Tape 2 is let down by its decisions to leave a key thread deliberately dangling, not
Mhm.
out of a desire to preserve a mystery, but seemingly to get you to come back next time. Looking at this as positively as possible, I say my reaction to Bloomer Rage's ending is a testament to the strong characters and relationships built over the bulk of its runtime. Like its opening half, Tape 2 has some wonderful moments, and its main quartet of misfits are earnestly portrayed. But narrative games that promise a complete story simply have to deliver, and it's maddening to see this tale end as it does. End quote.
Ah,
That's a big and I'm gonna let you go first
eh,
because you've got something to say there. Is the dog gonna bark? Woof, woof, woof. He's gonna come.
not quite. Like I understand where Tom is coming from, and this is going off of like the whole like comments of sequel bait. It's sequel bait. So like I understand the frustrations
Mm,
of people saying like it's sequel bait. However, when you're just like that one sentence is like, "Oh yeah, it's just asking you to come back for more." I'm like, "Yeah, it's a new studio from Don't Nod. It's a new IP. They're trying to put the best foot forward in a year where GTA 6 is coming this year, possibly. Uh, of course they're saying like, "Hey, if you play this, hey, we got more stories to tell." It's an ending that says, "Come back because it's a new IP." Like, why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you? I don't know. Um, I understand where people's frustration is on that, but
yeah.
I don't think people understand. Like, yeah, it's the point because they're trying to sell more copies so that they can, turn the lights on in the studio. I don't know. Some silly things like that so that, Luke and Michelle and all the team can eat, you know? Um I so like that's where I'm like on the I get it, but I don't think they get it.
No, I don't, because I think that's a good review to compare to the Guardian one. And this is
Yeah,
not me doing it in the sense of saying that Tom is wrong, because reviews are subjective. Let's get that very
sure.
quickly. Everyone has their own opinion. You can agree with it or not. Like, if Thomas Merch is in the comments, he's gonna be like, Metal Gear Solid's a masterpiece, and I'm like, yes, that's why the Merch's opinion's always right. But like with this, its reviews are opposites because, for example, as well for Tom Phillips, what happens if they do another game and it's not Swan and Cat? And you've written a
Yeah.
review saying that it's going to be a sequel, and you're saying it's sequel baiting. This is the problem with sequel baiting. It's a term. Yes, it does exist. It's become more relevant now, like for this game as well. The critique has been tape free and sequel baiting, and it's like people have all picked up on the same comment, have used it. Sequel baiting can be used as well. I've seen it as well happen with this. The difference is, well, because like sequel baiting, bingo card, double exposure, Swan Holloway, Max Caulfield will return. That was the sequel bait because it's like it never set out for anything to do that. It does it on
Yeah.
purpose right at the end when the story felt quite self-contained in certain respects. Um, that's when it happens, and it's like sequel baiting, and it's intentionally doing this. This game leaves it open for interpretation because, for example, even there as well with Kat, who's to say she's not dead? Who's to say
Mm.
she's alive? Who's to say what she is? Is she a witch? They have all kinds of things in the game where it's like she's like lacing little things in there. They were doing like like when they were singing the song in the quartet group, and you sit there thinking like this is like borderlining on like the Stephen King style of like Indian burial ground style kind of like something's happening where ancient magic is being chanted. There's nothing to suggest that Cat's dead. Like she's not, she's dead. If she did,
Yeah.
she exist? Has Swan Holloway been in the abyss all this time? Is she forever in it? What are all these kind of like feelings of it? There's quite a lot of it. The story's still self-contained because people will be like, well, these aren't explained. For me, the abyss is the main thing in the game, the series, because that exists. It will exist, and they can use that as the kind of connecting point throughout the entire franchise and like connect stories of it. The stories are depending on how you perceive them, if they end right or if they're finished. Because in itself, again, we did this for the interview. Jean Luc Carnot, the writer, Michel Coe, what did they say? Swan Holloway is our favorite character, and we love her, and she's the one. And Kat drives the narrative forward. And Kat at that point has driven the narrative forward to the point where you love her, you adore her, and she's finished that story point to that point. Or is it a cat? Is it not cat? Is it a premonition of the abyss? Look at the footage. She has long hair in those videos as well when she's recorded at the end. We were talking about this because even when Michelle was teasing things, I think you just sent me a message about saying, yeah, people don't read the kind of like the fine details of the game.
Yeah.
When Michelle was talking about the camera, and I think like that's where I see it with that review because I'm thinking like you're it feels like you set yourself up for something and it didn't deliver. And I think we're all guilty of that. But I think necessarily speaking, what he's saying there about that ending, I don't think that's the case. I think it's quite an open-ended ending, and it's like you could easily end up 2 years from now, 3 years now, when they release another Lost Records game. and it's not even Swan Holloway. It's
Yeah.
someone completely new. It's a new character, and maybe Cat is in that game.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I don't know. Yeah, that's what I mean. It's like I don't know. I don't necessarily agree with that, but I understand why you're saying it. I just don't agree with it.
Yeah, I think it's a fair interpretation. I think like I agreed with a lot of the points in that, and I think like
Mm.
even the feelings as well. Maybe like how they perceive Cat and what they were saying. I didn't agree with the part where it starts getting to the point where it's like there, where it says Cat can be saved maybe in a future game by extraordinary post credit scenes that robs her of a death of its impact and feels like an advert for a sequel.
Mm.
Like who's to say she's dead? Even
Yeah.
who's to say Corey is dead? Like, did we
Mm.
establish that the abyss is something that kills people? No, we didn't. They threw things in it and it empowered them for different reasons.
Yeah.
See, one of the theories I have, and let me know what you think about this, and it's very early. I was thinking for a while that the abyss is like this neutral controller. So it has no sides in a war. So for example, when it appeared and they threw things in, it was
Yeah.
like it'll grant it. So as I said, it's like a trade-off. So you throw something in and it gives something back to you, yeah? And it
Mhm.
gives you some kind of power. And what I was thinking was when the abyss reappears and when the abyss disappears, maybe it gets some morality conscience with it. Because who are the people that fall into the abyss?
Yeah.
Corey, who is a pure shithead and evil, and Cat, who represents good and positive. Maybe it's a yin and yang. Maybe those two characters start to control the abyss and give it a morality spectrum where it's like, we'll give you good or we can give you bad, and we give you a power, and it starts to have some. It has actual decision making where it feels like it can actually influence things. To only
Mm.
influence certain things in the story, maybe it gets a morality mechanism in there because two people have fallen into it. We've never seen that before in the game. Prior to that, it's just a hole, and it's a hole that they
Yeah.
throw stuff in, and it does something with that. But now it has two people in it. We've never seen that. We've never seen two people go into it. Swan as well, if you want to put her in there. Maybe there's a balancing act that gets put in there.
Yeah. Maybe. Yeah, I guess we'll have to see.
Yes, we'll have to wait. The
Because it's
sequel
people
baiting has
bait.
baited. Yes,
Yeah.
we have been bait. The Lost Records Journal has been baited onto the podcast. So there's that.
Yes.
So I think Adam, Tom Phillips, I think he gets a suspended sentence from the Abyss.
Okay. Yeah.
You agree?
He's suspended over the abyss. I understand.
Just like dangling there.
Yeah.
4 years sentence, yeah. I think he escapes the abyss for the time being. I think he's
Mm.
done enough there. I think it was not as egregious as takes, but I think it's fair criticism, some parts of that. Adam, where should we go again? Top, down, bottom, more extreme?
Let's go to the top.
Are we going to the top review?
Let's go hardcore gamer here.
Let's have a look at this. So we'll have a look. We'll have a look at this.
Of course we'll help.
So Chris Penwell, Hardcore Gamer, Lost Records Boomer Age, Tape 2 review is here. So this is the highest scored critic review on the PS5 version of Metacritic, at least. This was a 4.5 out of 5. I give many of those 4.5 reviews out as being Life is Strange back in the day. Closing comments, Adam, as it says here, Lost Records Boomer Age is a narrative adventure that won't be forgotten for a long time. The relationships that are all four of these characters form have you invested in the story, while the performances by the actors are top notch. While there are graphical issues and plot holes that haven't been filled, this game needs to be experienced, especially if you're a Life is Strange fan who feels disappointed by Square Enix's latest entry. How do we get to this point? We didn't even mention it this time. It's a shame that gameplay isn't as interesting as the first tape, as you find the majority of collectibles in the first half, but the story will keep you invested with engaging dialogue options, ending with plenty of replayability. Let's just quickly run through these last two paragraphs quickly. So, unfortunately, like the first tape, there are graphical issues when a character is supposed to be emotionally walking away from a scene, they are stepping forward against a wall. Once again, the camera also loses focus on Nora and Autumn, while in the future sections of the game, taking you out of the experience. There are also audio issues such as a song cutting out at a weird time and Swan's muffled voice while clips being played. Yeah, there's so many refinements this game could do, which would take it quite far up in the review scores. Thankfully, audio and visual issues are often are softened by a gorgeous soundtrack and wonderful graphics. The licensed music gets you into the headspace of the characters in the scene, and the songs that play towards the end of the game may move you to tears. Chills went down this writer's spine multiple times with goosebumps all over. The facial animations is once again incredible. Uh, you can see the washed out makeup on characters' faces, and the slight movement in the eyes is immensely detailed. It's shocking how good this game looks, and the environments you'll see in Lost Records Bloom Rage take your breath away. end of that, which I think there was a lot of like the pros and the cons being weighed up there, just from those paragraphs alone, at least.
Yeah. Good take. Good take.
Yeah. I will say something as well. I do think, at least for me now at this point, I love the performances. I think the actors were all great for their own respects as well. And I think Philip Barker is a fantastic VO director as well, obviously, having spoken to God knows how many VO artists. I do think, for example, that Don't Nod. Do you like Don't Nod's restructuring and reorganizing and doing all those things that we keep talking about in the news? I even looked in the news as well. There's a past article I found where it said that even when Oscar Gilbert put the company in a flotation and wanted to do it, they actually wanted to make a motion capture studio. So they wanted an inbuilt one. So almost like I think they probably would have got to where Deck 9 was, with its performance capture eventually. I do think that the performances aren't as shiny as you do see from like Deck 9 in performance capture. And I
Mm.
think it's missing because I can't unsee when someone gave me a really good perspective on it. And you see it with like the fact that you're not feeding off each other's energy. And it's a lot of stop, start, lot of stop, start, stop, start, stop, start when you're talking. So it's like that. And like you put, let's take, for example, Olivia Lepore, right? And you put that and you put Amelia in front of her, right? And they're doing Nora and Swan's scene when they're on the bench when they're doing the
Yeah.
reminiscing part. That is not being played out as well as it would be if it's full performance capture because they're going to be feeding off each other and bouncing off. Instead, they're filming it and doing all the things that they need to do. Then you're going to a booth separately and you're recording scenes. So what happens is it's like, Nora, we can do it. Yes, Swan, we can do it. So it's not feeding off that energy. And it's really
Yeah.
interesting because that's the one thing I took away from doing the channel as long as I have done with the interviews and the podcast. And if you haven't watched any of those, I'd advise you to go and do it because you see the perspective that you get from whether Zach Andrews was doing the motion capture on The Expanse or Webb was doing on the motion capture on the Life is Strange games, because you see acting reacting. And I think we talked to Anastasia about this and even Erica, and Erica hates Meisner, but I see how Meisner works. Like if I say to you, you have a nice hat, and you say, I have a nice hat, I'm like, I have a nice hat. And we keep bouncing back and forth until
Mhm.
someone changes it. You're building the resonation of that you have off each other. So like these scenes would be like tenfold better if you had that like chemistry where you could start seeing them act to each other. Because
Yeah.
otherwise it's like that's an issue. And then also you have lip syncing again, which is like another technical niggle that happens in the game. But I think the review is pretty perspective. I think that it's nice to see the music being mentioned. That soundtrack's probably one of the best in this year, the best of this decade, I think, so far. I think it's outstanding. The Ruth Radler, Adam Miller, Nat Walker, Nora Kelly, and Milk and Bone is just unbelievable. That soundtrack, and if that is not nominated at the Game Awards, done.
Yeah.
I'm done. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. That needs to be in the list of the nominations for best score or soundtracks of it. That is an outstanding soundtrack. I think that's, dare I say, even better than the first Life is Strange. I think that soundtrack is seminal.
I yeah. Uh, hmm.
But remember as well, the first Life is Strange soundtrack is a lot of licensed songs. These are
Yeah.
composed for this game.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Hot
Like, I don't
take.
know. Yeah. Okay. I'll take that. Yeah.
I think from a obviously iconic songs from the first Life is Strange, and some of them like even
Yeah.
obstacles in itself is like incredible. And Jonathan Morelli is a fantastic musician and a composer. But this game, like when they're specifically doing certain songs and design them, like Milk and Bones, The Abyss is like one of my favorite songs ever. They have such a, I don't stop listening to Milk and Bone at the minute. Their electronic synth pop thing that they do is amazing.
Yes.
But it's nice to see that as being recognized in there. But yeah, I agree with a lot of the things that we're saying in there. Storytelling, I think it's that's the review that we essentially gave it. It was a very high score on it, and I think probably some little niggling issues.
Hmm. Yeah, no, I think Hardcore Gamer, like, pretty much agrees with us. Like, there are graphical, there's some audio lags here and there, but for the most part, it's a great game, great story. Well appreciated. They're 4.5 out of 5. Yeah,
Yeah,
honestly, good take.
yeah. And Adam, before we move on from that one as well, just quickly point this out. This is like how different this game is. Do you know how polarizing it is for some people? So just going up here,
Hmm.
something else feels right about Lost Records Bloom and Rage is that you somehow feel nostalgic about the summer these kids are having because of the release gap between tape 1 and 2. It does truly feel like you're looking back into the past as you recap the clips you've made. Without spoiling how the game ends, it does a great job of using footage you have created. Additionally, the ending is satisfactory, unlike the last Life is Strange game, when you finally open the box, it's all worth the build up of waiting to see
Mm,
what's inside it. It's also intriguing as a teaser to what's come in the future from Don't Nod Montreal, which I pulled out because isn't it interesting how one reviewer is like it's sequel baiting, and it's like nah,
yeah,
and then another reviewer is like actually I
yeah.
like this because it's teasing. It's such a I never thought this would be the discourse that comes around this game. And
I
I find it
know.
such a and I think it's gonna be something we keep talking about and having conversations about and stuff. I just find it so interesting how people perceive it. It's like I'm like, when because I always say to people, I'm trying to read some comments. It's hard because when you're just reading comments from people, but I'm like, what else more do you want from the game at this moment in time? Like, what else is there next? It's like you want more cat story. Well, cat's a different animal in itself. Cat's not the main character of this game. Do you want more Swan? Maybe, but then do you destroy agency with the different choices you have, or can you tell more of a story with Swan? Does Swan become a mum or something with kids? God only knows. Like, there's options there. So I'm interested. I just found that when I was reading through the review, I was like, hang on a minute, that's interesting. That one review is like, nah. And then the other one's like, yeah, I like that, which I think is fine. Um, but yeah, I think there's a lot to be said with it. And to tell you as well, because he hasn't posted it yet. Come on, Alex. I did a video of Alex on podcast now, and we were talking about like a spoiler cast thing where it's like a 30-minute video, I think it was. And even before he came on, Alex joked and said, like, this is going to be a bit like fireworks. Do you like with Life is Strange Double Exposure, like where the different opinions? I was like, no, because I respect your opinion that you're critical of certain parts of it. I respect Nicefield's opinion when I read Nicefield's review on Twitter when they were like, I like all these and they're great and it's 7.5 and it's like you don't have to give it a 9.5 for me to say we're both aligned with it because Double Exposure is a different animal for us to critique and we rightfully critique that the way that we did. This one, your criticisms are fine for it. And I think I agree with parts of this, and I think you'll agree with what I'm going to say with it. And it was really civilized. When you watch the video, it's really like a chilled out
Yeah,
chat. And I never went on there with the thing, but I just find it funny that was the pretense. It was like almost like when we were joking about it off podcast before we even started talking about it, I was like, oh, I was like, that's interesting. It's never
yeah.
going to happen like that. So yes, I think that's it. And I think Chris Penwell, you are spared a sentence of the abyss. The 12
Yes.
Crow Adams that are in the jury have unanimously said not guilty. So
Do you know him personally?
Chris, no, no. Chris,
Okay.
Chris has Chris has gone working at Hardcore Gamer after I left.
No, yeah.
I'm pretty sure I had an interaction with Chris on Twitter though about Life is Strange Double Exposure.
Oh boy.
It wasn't as satisfactory as the review of it. Well, I didn't see it at first because I think they've changed their Twitter, but then they posted something about double
Mm,
exposure and said it was like, people who were moaning about double exposure were people who were moaning that Max and Chloe weren't together. I was like, I'm sorry, Chris. You've got
yeah.
some good takes in your reviews and stuff, but I'm not having that. That's just a very lazy criticism of double exposure. And that game needs to rightfully be critiqued for different reasons. But we are on Lost Records Journal. We're not on double exposure. So, Adam, should we pull up one more review and then we'll look through the OpenCritic reviews and then we'll sign off our podcast for
Yes.
the day. But I always enjoy these segments and I'm looking forward to more Lost Records content so we can keep doing them. So, Adam, we've been on the high end, we've been on the low end, we've been on the middle end. Should we go back to the low end again and see what's happening? Because I think we've
Mm,
taken the top two reviews there. We've had Eurogamer as well. And then Kotaku hasn't given it a review score. This one might be interesting.
multiplayer
Multi-
IT.
I say multiplayer IT or the gamer.
Yeah, let's say the gamer. Let's see these
Gamer.
awful takes.
The gamer. The gamer.
Yeah.
One word.
The
TheGamer
gamer.
with a
Yeah.
thingy. So Lost Records, Bloomer Rage, Tape 2 review a quick temper. So
Oh,
interesting enough.
I can't see the article on my page.
You can't, no, you can't, because I need to share it. Thank you very much for that, because I was going to
Yeah.
start reading it.
There you go.
Yes, there we go. So we are on 3.5 out of 5. That was given to the gamer. So they got a couple of pros and cons here. So a satisfying emotional conclusion to Swan's story. The question mark there. Interesting. Um, Everything that was great last time around, graphics, characters, shifting perspectives, is still great this time. Some weird character choices deviate too much from what Tape 1 established, and this shorter chapter needed more time to breathe. Okay, fair enough. Um, Towards the end, Adam, let's go through some of these paragraphs as well. Should we start from? Oh, we got a Corey one here. I like
Oh.
this. Let's start from here. So Tape 2 keeps that quality high. So this is essentially the end of the review as well, if you're listening. The quality is still high. There are some new things to get more excited about this time around. It ends on a sequel tease that I found really intriguing. It has a satisfying conclusion, but it left me with the feeling that there are still more stories to tell in this world. And more importantly, it had me on the edge of tears for much of its final 30 minutes. the first episode really made me care about these characters, and tape 2 successfully pays off from that investment. Yeah. There are issues that weren't present in the first tape, though. Lost Records didn't really need a stealth section. Ooh.
Mm.
But the one introduced here is mercifully short. And while
Mercy.
Bloom ended up but I
Dang.
think this is going to be a good review because I think we can talk about this. And while Bloom ended on the note that Corey, the boyfriend of Kat's older sister, who works for a family, might not actually be that bad after all, Rage makes him almost mustache twirlingly evil. There are some
Oh,
specific answers. Yeah. There are some specific answers given that won't satisfy players looking for a great mystery. If that's the main thing you're looking for, you might be disappointed.
mm.
But that wasn't what I was but that wasn't what I was here for. And given Don't Nod's history, I doubt that most players who give Lost Records a try are looking for a J.J. Abrams style. Yeah. What?
Wow.
Oh dear. Okay,
Wow.
this is taking a Corey turn, if anything, at this point. Like, interesting.
Yeah.
They're here for the characters, just like I was. I ultimately have to give it up to. Sorry, I have to give it up for Tape 2 and Lost Records as a whole for delivering an evocative experience that manages to capture what it feels like to be a teenager, even if you weren't born in the 90s. Lost Records Blue and Rage's second and final episode is a most satisfying conclusion. Is a most satisfying conclusion. Should say is the most satisfying conclusion or
Is
something.
a
Whatever.
mostly satisfying
It's
conclusion.
a mostly. Oh, sorry, I didn't see the end of the mostly. I
Yes.
apologize. Well, I'm not going to apologize at the end of this scathing
Yeah.
assessment we're going to make. I just wish it could have had more space to do more than just wrap things up. End quote. So,
Uh, mm.
interesting review. Let's just establish one thing. I agree with it being longer, maybe.
Sure.
Maybe.
Sure.
I think maybe 30 minutes or something added on to this. I don't think it needs to be too long because then it drags on for a game which is already heading to its finish line. And I think, again, maybe tape 1 and 2 are impacted from the split releases where it unevens the game. We've seen it before. Tell Me Why, The Expanse, these games that have all come out in the post era. We've talked about True Colors potentially just doing a 5-chapter style game and you get the full thing. I think that's just a better formula to do with it.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably why it feels uneven. So fair enough point there. Yeah.
Hmm.
Where do you want to attack this review next?
Come on, man. The J.J. Abrams line. Come on. That's cold. That's cold. Wow, dude. J.J. Abrams style. What was it? Thread?
It was a
Yeah.
J.J. Abrams style yarn.
Yarn. Yeah. Oh, wow, dude. That's cold. Like I understood where he said like Corey with a mustache twirling evil side. I'm like, that's fair. That's a fair assessment because like at the end he really turned into like the bad boy 90s kid. I'm like, oh geez. But like to
Do
end
you
it
know,
all in the yeah.
just on that as well with Corey, I have different feelings about it since we finished the game.
Hmm.
And just like different ones, because we were talking about it, and I was like, you said that he's a really four-dimensional character, and it'd be great if he has this like redeeming arc and stuff.
Yeah.
I would have liked that as well. And it's like, I think like if you had done that, I think people would also criticize Michelle saying you done the Dave Madsen slash Frank Bowers thing again, where it's like you made this character intentionally like misleading, but you made him good. And it's like, okay, so he's gonna lose on that situation. So whilst they could have done that, I could do that. In the game, at least, it establishes, even though he saves Kat at the end where he like picks her up and stuff, it does put little things in place where, for example, Dylan has
Yeah.
like a bruise on her head. Kat's in her room. We talk about the card that's on the floor from her mum. Like it's her mum's card, but Corey has signed it, and Kat's like, well, you didn't really care about it. And in itself, maybe he represents, for example, the bully you'd find in like Stand By Me, a Stephen King novel. Or, for example, you might find him, and he reminds me of this so much. He reminds me of Billy Loomis from Scream, where it's
Mm.
like, do you know, where he's just obnoxious. Like, look at how he looks at Dylan, like this kind of like peace, and he just like represents to that, and he's like, kiss me, babe, and it's like he always is like kind of like line. What does Billy Loomis do that entire film? I mean, I know it's a bit different because the motives are different as well, and he's like
Yeah.
setting that up for why he's with Sidney Prescott. But it reminds me of that in the Scream film, where it's like the dynamic. He feels like a cliche '90s villain,
Mm.
and yes, it does feel like it's a twiddling the mustache kind of thing. But
Yeah.
he also proves in the game he has zero redeeming qualities. So at that point, it's like, okay, we committed to this and we're going to go with this. And he is like that kind of character.
Mm.
And maybe it plays into that. So I think I'm very still mixed about Corey. And I think I'm kind of teetering towards it not being as bad as other people making it out to be. I think it's actually works in certain places. I think like when you see it as it is and you you establish it like he is, because in itself as well, the main one of the characters you love, Cat, is telling you repeatedly he's a dirtbag, and he is.
Yeah.
No one
Yeah.
believes it because everyone's like, "Oh, he's not a dirtbag." He's calling Swan like a dyke or like a fatso or something. He's saying all kinds of things to her. How is that guy going to be redeeming?
Yeah. I don't know. Like that's what I mean. It's like the whole Corey takes, like I don't really see anything to argue with. Like all the takes are pretty fair on what Corey
Yeah,
is. Like, and I was wrong to say like he could be like super four dimensional. I don't know if Michelle meant him to be like the most like dynamic character. I think he was more focused on the girls than he
yeah.
was Corey. Um, but yeah, the JJ Abrams, your boy, the lost creator. How do you feel about
Oh,
that?
show.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty disrespectful. I don't agree with that at all.
Yeah,
No,
no,
no.
no. I'm
I
sure he didn't mean lost JJ Abrams. He means Star Wars JJ Abrams.
Yeah, the more recent J.J. Abrams is
Yeah.
questionable, and I think like I don't like taking like digs at that because like even like M Night Shyamalan has had like a revival a little bit recently, or M Night
Yeah.
Shyamalama Ding Dong as Tarantino calls him, but like he has had a
Yeah.
revival with his work, and like I always remember with Shyamalan, he was like tipped to be the next Spielberg, and it was like because he just kept doing the same thing that like people like really soured on him. But with J.J. Abrams, he's still done like good things, and his
Yeah.
body of work is very good. And I don't really know if it's like a it feels like a weird insult. Like, say it's Ubol or someone like, say it's someone who's like actually really bad if you're gonna try and say that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really agree with that as a take for JJ Abrams. It's weird because the game is so different and it's so different. Like even using Life is Strange as it's going to come back to bite me at some point. Even using Life is Strange as a measurement, you can't because this game's so different. This feels
Yeah.
like, and I haven't watched this. This feels like a David Lynch Twin Peaks style story slash Oxenfree esque story slash all these other parts of it. It feels like those kind of stories. It's nothing like Life is Strange in a lot of respects. It has references and stuff laced in it, but obviously you're not going to write the same Life is Strange story because you'll have a lawsuit on your hands by the end of it, and it's quite different in that. I think the way it approaches it, it probably will be polarizing. And actually, one more point as well. Whilst I say this as well, this is an interesting point I was thinking of. When has Michel Coe ever made a game that isn't divisive?
Life is Strange 1, everybody loved it. It was, unified. In fact, the entire world held hands from side to side. It was, hands across, the world kind of situation with Life is Strange 1.
We all levitated, didn't we?
We all levitated. Yes.
Mitch Dyer gave that a 6 out of 10 on IGN for the first episode.
Well,
And if
IGN
you
doesn't
look,
count as people, so
but what I'm saying is, if you look at the individual episodes, they are very polarizing in the sense of the review scores. Yes, it's universally acclaimed by now, and the consensus at the end does get a strong score of it. But even in the individual body parts as well, some people like episode 5, some people hate it. Some people really like the first episode, they think it's too slow. So in
yes.
a nutshell, his work is always very divided. Obviously, Life is Strange 2 is the perfect example of a very divisive piece of work.
Mhm.
Same with, I think, Captain Spirit is still. I'll include Captain Spirit in Life is Strange 2. It's hard to kind of critique that on its own. And
Yeah.
then Lost Records, for example, again, another very divisive piece of work where it's like the first tape is reviewed quite positively, but also quite like mixed as well. The second tape is very much divisive again, where it's like mixed review scores. And I think, barring maybe Life is Strange 1, where it's the anomaly, and even then you could still argue certain episodes when you look at them individually, because that was an episodic game, the review scores have always been that. So with Michel, he feels like one of those creators where it's like, you're going to like his work or you're not going to like it. And I'm fine
Yeah.
with that. Same with Jean Luc as well. They tell very specific style story, and it's very welcome style story because, like, if we lose that, then God help the industry at this point. Um, Generally speaking, some of those takes were a bit wild in there, and I
Yeah.
think I'm not sure how I feel about like the overall consensus of what was given.
It
Like,
was a
yes,
roller coaster, like,
yeah,
some good and then some real strong dips and
yeah.
takes. Yeah.
I'm not having the take about the self section. I thought that was hilarious.
N
I thought it was
Subway
hilarious.
section?
The Solid Swan doing her thing when she's in the
Yeah.
MGS. I thought it
Yeah.
was a great section. I thought it was
Yeah,
a
when
really
he said,
fantastic.
what, what
He
was the
says he,
term he used?
oh,
Mercifully ended. Like, it wasn't merciful, it was mercifully short. I was like, "Wow, dude,
yeah,
mercifully." So, yeah, no,
yeah.
hot take,
Yeah,
that
I think
one.
it's a hot take. I don't really agree. I really enjoyed the stealth section. I think it needed refining, and it's got little bugs and stuff. It's like the game's going to be haunted by bugs and technical issues. That was a big concern with the
Yeah.
PlayStation 5 version and stuff. And it's like it has impacted it. But generally speaking, that's like that that stealth section is like the evolution of the
Yeah.
fifth episode of the first Life is Strange, where you have the nightmare sequence, if not better.
Yeah.
I think it's got quite a lot of comedy value to it as well. I will always remember Solid Swan, and I'll be doing that as a
Yeah.
piece of art somewhere in my room. I can put it on the wall. Yeah, I find that review, some of it is like, no, I think that's a little bit,
Mm-mm.
yeah, not having that. So what's his name now? Andrew King, I think, and this has to be a joint verdict. I'm sending him to the abyss. You sending him to the abyss.
Yeah. Kicking him
Yeah,
like Spartan style. Yeah.
yeah.
Bad takes. Awful
I'm gonna
takes.
kick him into the abyss, and it's gonna be like a J.J. Abrams story. That's what's gonna happen.
Yes.
Him falling into the abyss. So
Uh,
I think that's that. Adam, should we do one more review, or should we just leave it there?
one more. One more, then we'll leave it.
Ah, yes, the listeners have been appeased here. The Raven has spoken. So, Adam, last review. We've gone through all the different ones. I'm going to give you three picks here. Do you want to go back to the top for a more positive one? Gamerline is giving a positive review. CGO Connectors, same as the Gamer. Comic Book as well is
Comic
another
book.
one.
Let's do I feel like comic book is like a hit or miss, whereas the gamer's always a miss. Yeah.
Yes. So we're on here. So we have Matthew Murphy, double M, as it is,
Mm.
and they have written their review.
Yeah, there
Lost
you go. The
Records.
initials are or
Mm.
Eminem. Yeah.
Eminem, yeah. It could be
Yeah.
Eminem writing this review. Not
Yeah.
been doing a lot of music recently, so there you go.
That's true.
Lost
Yeah.
Records, Lost Records, Bloom Rage, Tape 2 review, Bullet with Butterfly Wings. So this was on comicbook.com. And they also reviewed, obviously, the first tapes. Let's go down and have a Scroll Adam 3 out of 5 review provided by the publisher, i.e. Don't Nod. Let's pick up a couple. Let's read the last three paragraphs and then we'll go from there. Um, Many of the choices made in tape one are shown in tape two, which would work if Bloom and Rage is played continuously, but becomes a bigger mystery once you come back to tackle the final chapter. Ultimately, there is a sense of satisfaction seeing the climactic events unfold as your choices are your own. This rings true with the gameplay experience, which continues the dialogue-based interactivity, but doesn't carry as much gravitas as the ones from tape one. A lot of Tape 2 is made up of cutscenes and some experimental gameplay choices, which are creative but doesn't feel essential to the storytelling process. Where Lost Records hits its stride is within its mementos and photography. Reminiscing is a universal language we understand, which plays nicely within the game. Going back to the lodge after the events of the concert carries a different meaning, one which is riddled with bittersweet memories. Lost Records works when it doesn't try to go out of the box to change the experience, as those moments feel connected to the game's tone. Speaking of tone, Don't Nod once again strikes with its beautiful display of colors and landscapes, which capture the raw American scenery. Scenes involving the abyss are incredibly vibrant and cast a spell on those intrigued by the wonders below. With aesthetically pleasing visuals, Tape 2 hits its mark when it comes to tackling the harsh realities of life, but with an unsteady pace of depth. Bloomer Rage puts a bow on a present that hasn't arrived yet. In the attempt to continue the story afterwards, it's hard to accept the experience of loss and regret that Don't Know presents within its short playtime, scratching the surface to make way for a deeper story later on feels off-putting, even after a story that gives impression of facing the past has fulfilled its role. Velvet Cove isn't the same anymore, so it's best to move on with life rather than wallow in the past. 3 out of 5, which I can't tell if that 3 out of 5 is like really misleading at the minute based on what I'm reading there.
Yeah. I feel like it should be a 3.5 at least.
Yeah.
I
If
don't
I
really
was
see. Yeah.
if I
It
was
sounds
the
like it wants to give
editor,
a 4. Yeah.
yeah, if I was the editor, generally speaking, if I was the genuinely editor of this, I would probably ask the writer to, it depends on what the rest of the content of this piece is. I would probably ask them to like re reevaluate the score or write it more in the sense of that, because I don't know if it's in here somewhere where they're writing it where it's a bit more negative. Um this is the narrative part, if anything, but I just don't know. So let's say it's like
Yeah,
that
they're calling
ultimately.
the script underwhelming, which
Ooh,
yeah, on
let's have
that
a look. Pull it up
yeah,
then.
yeah, so it's unfortunately narratives only scratch the surface when it comes to tackling emotional scenes and doubt and confusion. While tape one took time to build the personalities of our friends, tape two seemingly recycles the complexities and leans into their motivations and flaws, and all while fast tracking the story with its 5-hour runtime. Yeah, I got it like around 4.5 hours.
Yeah.
This part also falls victim to stereotypes. Fair, especially the rebellious side, which makes the story uneven in delivery. Jumping from one moment rapidly didn't help connect the story like Tape One did. When it came to packing the emotional punches, the script didn't do moments of justice. Didn't do the moments justice, which was underwhelming. Mm,
Should we go second part?
nah. Yeah, like that.
So just add
I
on to
understand.
that.
Yeah, go for it.
Let's put this in there quickly. So it's players are left connected to, sorry, players are left to connect the dots of Kat's family drama, which is the center of a lot of Tape Two's plotline. Corey was on the precipice of gaining a redeeming quality, but his flawed, violent perspective provided an antagonist that felt one note, another identity that eases its way into the emotional grip created by Kat's cancer diagnosis was the Abyss, which was teased at Tape One and is still a mystery after the events of Tape Two. The integration of the colorful pit of wonder has no lore behind it, other than a place where the girls made the sacrifice to make a wish in real life. I disagree with that, by the way, as well. There are collectibles in the game. I need to go back and look at them, but that's 100% not true. It's maybe not central to the story and specifically explained, but it is explained in parts that the consequences of the player's actions, especially the ones especially the ones pledged during the encounter with the Abyss, prove quite challenging when you pick up Tape Two after 3 months. So okay, that's maybe where the perspective starts to pick up in that.
Mm,
Um,
mm. That's what I mean.
I
Comic book is like hit or miss. Like it's kind of like I see where you're coming from. Um, but yeah, to call a story underwhelming, I get it, but yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that's a big
hot
from me.
take.
That
I think it's a hot take.
it's a warm take, I think.
You
Like,
reckon?
I mean, if we're comparing it to the
Ooh.
J.J. Abrams line, this is a warm take. It's a warm take.
Fair.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
fair.
like,
I think
yeah, hot takes are just like yeah, this narrative, it's just like J.J. Abrams, like late J.J. Abrams, like ugh, yeah, disgusting, yuck. This one is just like a microwave take. You put it in the microwave for a few seconds. It's like oh hot, a little hot. Go cool down.
yeah, it's interesting that I don't really know how I feel about that review. I think it's the narrative part is a little bit like, okay, cool, yeah, it is short. It is short. And
Yeah,
again, I can see you could add like 30, 40 minutes on depending on it. You don't want to go overboard because it goes too long and the story goes and drags itself out. And I think that's always a bad thing. Again, the Corey thing I think is I would probably have felt like that naturally when I was playing the game. I've kind of changed my perspectives a little bit and the feeling because I see where it can come from both sides. It almost feels as well a little bit with Corey. It's damned if you do, it's damned if you don't. Because
mhm,
essentially, like if you do either or, people are going to be critical of it. So I think he's a kind of a character which is unwinnable. And I think maybe they should have been a bit more aggressive with saying that he is actually just a bad person all along. And he doesn't really need a twist this game where it's like you need that, oh, actually, he's this kind of person. Um, the script is not underwhelming. I'm going to say
no,
that right now. That's a hot take for me. I'm sorry, I'm just
yeah,
not having that. I'm not having the script as underwhelming. I think it's a very interesting story with a good setup. I think they probably need to go back and play the game to find out a bit more about again, the Abyss. And I'll say this again: you have to be careful about how much you want. Yes, we need
yeah,
answers for it. Yes, we do. We need answers for it. I accept it. But again, I'm taking the same inspiration from where Michel has taken stories from himself, i.e., like Stephen King. Be very careful about when you explain too much. Because even Stephen King has done it times, and that's why Stephen King will leave mysteries in his books. Because if he explains it, you're gonna be like, "Well, that's ridiculous." And it's like,
yeah,
obviously, it's a hole that has just emerged in Velvet Cove of all places. You can feed people. And I think that's
yeah,
when I said before, like my theory, where it's like, is it got a good or bad morality complex? That's an interesting feeling. I'm going to be like, oh, well, when Michelle doesn't do that, I'm going to be angry, and I'll be like, why didn't you take my theory and tell the story? Um,
yeah.
no, I'm joking. You can criticize this game, but I
But,
think,
like, at the same time, I like to give a great every time someone says, like, "Well, we need explanations for everything." Not always, sometimes just let things the way they are. Um, I'm gonna give one example, and it might be a hot take.
oh, here we go.
Midichlorians. Like, why? Why do we need to explain the Force? Like, well, how do people get the Force? How come you're born with it? And George's like, fine, I'll explain. Oh, it's the metachlorians in your bloodstream.
Yeah,
Okay.
I agree.
Yeah, that's what I mean, though. Sometimes with sci-fi, with horror, with anything like that, sometimes explanations are really needed. It's a
Yeah,
difference between science fantasy and science fiction, right? Science fantasy, you just s- lightsabers and the force and all that. Science fiction, you want to have explanation based in science. That's where
yeah,
Star Trek comes in. Star Trek is more based in science, and they kind of like write their story based on that science, right?
yeah.
Um, but then there's just like some things like midichlorians. Like we didn't need that.
No needed.
Some
No.
some things in stories don't need to be explained.
Yeah, and see, the thing is as well, if they basically, if George Lucas had just done the Revenge of the Sith for the first three films, as it would, that would have been the quality we needed. Because Revenge of the
Mm,
Sith, where it feels like it comes back in a little bit, and it's not doing the stupid explaining the laws and stuff, and it's like that's the
yeah.
kind of quality we didn't. But George Lucas fell into his own trap and explained something like that, and it's like we don't need that. That's not needed. Like you can tell backstories, like his other work, obviously, which he did with Spielberg, like Indiana Jones. Indiana Jones can have a backstory in those first three films, and they do it really well, and they fit things in, but you don't need to explain where the Ark of the Covenant comes from because
Mm,
we connect dots and we create philosophy, and it's this reason, and obviously it is connected to history with the commandments, but it's like, it's we don't need to go the full length of it, as you said. And the same with midichlorians. It was like, why do we need to know the Force is just a supernatural thing. It doesn't matter about that. We have people walking on with guardian sticks, lightsabers, and we're not going to need it. We have a guy who's Jar Jar Binks, and he's got Boss Nas with him. We don't need explanations for this kind of stuff. No, I completely agree. That's just a great take with it. Yeah, the minute he explains that abyss, it's going to be like, oh, it's like, oh, and I'm
yeah.
like, I warn you, come back to this video. We might even be long gone at this point. Come back and watch the video. I bet you it'll happen. If he even tries to explain it to Michelle and Jean-Luc, it's gonna happen. You're gonna be like, "Oh," and it's gonna be like,
How
"Oh."
does everybody in Life is Strange get their powers?
Exactly.
He doesn't explain. He
Yeah.
stands by it. Michelle doesn't explain. In fact, they try to in Captain Spirit. He kind of teased it a little bit, where Captain Spirit's in the mirror is like, and this is how I get my superpowers. Like, how do you? He's like, oh, I'll never tell. And like Michelle is just like,
Yeah.
no, people. Again, people aren't upset. Like, well, how did Max get her powers? Like, no, some things
And
just don't need to be explained.
to add on to what you're saying as well, because it's perfect. The connection people do is that the trauma is what triggers it, and it's usually Square Enix that says trauma equals character's power. But Michelle's
Yep.
always been cryptic of saying there's a connection dot. So it's the same with like why Max can go and rewind the time on the photo, and it's because her reflections in the water, and it's like that's what gives her that reason to do it. It's the little subtle signs, but again, the minute someone explains something to you, it's gone, and it's been proven time and time again. Say it to Alex on podcast now. It's like, what happens to that like last sequence of like Scream?
Mm,
I need to watch Scream, by the way. That's why I keep saying it. Like Billy Loomis, Stu Mocker, do we need a motive, Stid? Like, does anyone need a
yep.
motive? That entire monologue that they do with Randy in the entire into the books in the video store about a motive. Whose motive? It's like, does someone
Yeah.
really need a motive? Could they just do something in that kind of action? Yeah, of course they can. The minute you explain something, you get reactions, and it's one of the most dangerous things you can do with a piece of work. Any piece of work, I bet you it's happened. Hannibal Lecter, da da da. There's been so many examples where you've just done one little bit of thing, and it's like, oh, Freddy Krueger. Do you remember the Nightmare remake that they did? And they added
Oh,
that in because it's like Wes Craven hints at who he really is, and it's like that makes it disturbing. But then they go full blown and tell you what it is, and it's like,
yeah.
oh, like, right, well, he's always a monster. That's a bit whatever. And it's like, well, we knew he's a monster. You're hinting at it. That's what makes it more a powerful sequence. Yeah, again, I'm going to say, be very careful. We need explanations for the abyss, and you'll get them. I think you get them in the way it's mystique and it's mysterious, and it's going to keep you thinking about it. But you're not going to get a full definitive explanation for it. And I hope we don't either, because that's where it's going to do it. You read 11/23/63 from Stephen King. Imagine him trying to explain why that exists. Imagine. You're gonna be like, at that point, you're gonna put the book down and be like, "No, I don't care about this," because it sounds stupid, because it is
Yeah.
stupid, but it works because it's just a connecting point for the rest of the story. And then
Yeah.
obviously, as you said, some people love it, some people don't. So is what it is. So I think we will wrap up. We'll look at the open critic scores before we go, and obviously Rage Records. Adam, Matthew Murphy, does he go into the abyss?
I'm gonna squawk at him some more. I'm gonna squawk. Squawk,
So
squawk,
yeah,
squawk. Yeah.
I do you know
He
what?
yeah.
I agree with you. And instead, I don't think he's going to go in the abyss, but he will be suspended over the abyss for 2 years.
Yes. Mission
Whilst you
Impossible
squawk at
style.
him. Yeah, you're going to
Yes.
fly up to him and squawk at him every morning to wake him up.
Yeah.
That's what's going to happen. So I think he's escaped the abyss for the time being. So yeah, we'll leave that as it is. Let's quickly delve into the Open Critic, and then we're not going to go through the full reviews, but we're just going to like go over it, and then we'll go into Rage Records. So Adam is now live on Open Critic. Is actually increasing now, I think, as well. Last time I checked it. So
Mm.
Lost Records Bloomer Rage Tape 2, it's a fair score. So it's got that. Its
Mm.
top average critic score is 73. Critics recommend at 53. Rating still pending in there. Obviously, the reviews are coming in here. As you can see, Tom Phillips is there. Rachel Watts is there from Games Radar. PlayStation Universe, Joe Richards. He's hanging in the abyss at this point. So got quite a few different scores there. And then just to give a bit of comparison as well. So obviously, again, it is
And that's the other thing,
currently,
like, is it 3.5 out of 10 or is it 3.5 out of 5? Like,
yeah,
that's the crazy part. Yeah.
yeah, it's always hard to kind of like revert the scales and put them on their aggregator sites, but there it is.
Mhm.
And obviously there's tape one. Strong rating, 76, 73 critics recommend. So that's a very solid score, if anything, for that. But again,
Mm.
like some of these reviews I think are funneling in from tape two, because like that one, for example, 22nd of April from Console Tribe. Like,
Yes.
unless that is from tape one, let me double check that. Um,
Hmm.
can't tell actually.
Review
No.
in Italian.
Yeah, so
Mm.
yeah, but like look how late it's been added. But yeah, it's just it's interesting to see where the review scores are. I'm hoping that this one increases, and I think there's obviously a conversation we'll be having later on in another video about thingy. So I think that's that. So should we move into Rage Records?
Absolutely. While you're doing that, I would want to make something clear on this that, like, when I'm squawking as reviewers, it's not me as a bird. It's me, like, human form. And I'm just going to be squawking at you like a crazy man coming out of Philadelphia or Baltimore. Either one. Where do you think I'm from? Write in the comments down below, everybody. Ring that bell. Bing, 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 bing. You know.
I'd actually plan to edit this out, but I might leave it in now just because it's funny. Like, um, yeah, it was not planned for that. But okay, we're on Rage Records. So as we said before, this has been a reformatted segment. So if you have theories, submit that. If you have a comment, submit that. We'll pick out the best ones. We're gonna try and like mix it up as well. So here's an option. Obviously do the theories as well if you'd like to, because we'll get to them at a later stage. But we usually pick out on the best. Pick out one of the comments or two of the comments on the latest podcast episode before this one. So we have Phantom Wheeler here, as you can see as well. Comment on this. I'm just zooming in because it makes it easier for me to read, because otherwise I'm going to go crazy. So the comment comes in, as a Michiganer myself, I can confirm that I say GZOP a lot. LMAO. I just finished my first play through the game. I'm definitely playing the game again. My only small complaint about the game is it's way too short. It was too short. Sorry. I really hope Don't Nod will be given the opportunity to expand the Lost Records Bloom and Rage in the form of a new game, or at least DLC. Stay awesome. On a side note, I just thought of this. I'm a straight male and I enjoyed the game a lot, and I didn't think the game was quote unquote woke. I thought the creators of the game made a really great game with complex, well written, complex characters, which
Mm.
is a very good comment. And we're going to bring out one more Adam as well here. So we're going to have
Yes.
Remy Lee. Remy Lee. I know who this person is, and they're lovely. But I'm messed your name up. So I'm going to put it here. I mean, I agree with most of what was discussed. Of course you do. You love us. Remind this,
Yes.
listeners, even if you find us the first time, you might absolutely hate our guts, but we win people over. It always happens as well. We're just that likable. Um, I love the game a lot, but in my eyes, Cliffhanger points to a continuation with Cat and Swan. Just hope they don't go the route of different characters if they have another game, or if they do, Cat and Swan are tied into it. Not just mention, but actively play a part, because leaving it the way they did with no follow up would upset a lot of people. If the game didn't have Cat saying "Find me" and the end of the abyss, I would feel very differently. Interesting. So there's our comments as well. And we will discuss them here. And Adam as well. You pulled out as well before. Look at this guy. KJ Kevin, love that you love Raid Records. No, you're not getting picked.
Yeah.
No,
No.
you got our two picks
A little
there.
bit
So
needy there, don't you think? A little
yeah,
bit needy.
you got two picks. So great comments. I think Phantom Wheeler, that's a great comment as well, and perspective as well. And it's nice to see that Gizo is done quite a lot. Adam as well. I watched the interview because you saw it as well. I
Yes.
watched the interview with Michelle and Marin and Luke. And that clip is outstanding. You see Marin's like cooking for it as well, where he's like, should I say it? Should I not say it? And then even
Yeah.
Michelle's like, he's like, yes, but you know, and he tries to explain, it's like, Michelle, we know that this is it. And Luke's just sat there with his Ruth Radlett t-shirt. And it's like, yes, he knows it as well. Just go to Michelle's Spotify, Kojima coded, and we got the soundtrack sorted. No, yeah, it's an interesting comment as well. And I think that what Phantom Wheel is saying is very much, I think, hits home with the both of us, how we feel about like where we go forward and what is great about this game. It's not woke as well. And I think that,
No.
as you said as well, like, you know, you can be man, woman, you could be whatever you want as well, and you can still enjoy these characters. I think they're just characters which are really well written. And the woke narrative is just like, you know, everything's woke, isn't it, nowadays? So it's as trendy as it gets.
If you have to
Um,
learn about someone else's perspective, "Oh, it's woke. I don't like learning about perspectives. I don't like learning about anything else other than my white culture." It's
of
like,
course.
yeah, every time, dude. Every time. I don't know.
Yeah, it's just
I can't stand this type of day.
it was boring though, isn't it? It's just boring. It's so boring, boring, boring. It's like everyone throws it out and it's like, what does that word mean anymore? It's like
Well,
it
like,
has no
have you ever
meaning.
been to a white person barbecue?
Yes, I have actually.
Yeah, when we talk about boring, that's what they're trying to do, like, "Oh, we're gonna whitewash. Deviled eggs for everybody. Let's get deviled eggs in here. Ooh, I'm gonna put mayonnaise on my burger. Yum, yum, yum." Throwing into the abyss. You put a deviled egg near me, I'm drop kicking you into the abyss.
Does matter.
Anytime it's yeah, anytime you say, like, "I like pickles and mayonnaise on my burger," into the abyss. Straight up. I will get you, dude. If you're thinking that I'm trying to think of another white person thing that
Pineapple
they
on
do.
pizza.
Oops. I'm a crazy man. I put pineapple on pizza. I drizzle that thing in pineapple. I cut up the whole thing.
What?
Yeah. Dude, if I could make the marinara sauce, pineapple flavor, pineapple
You're a
marinara.
chef.
Yeah, yeah. I also
Italy
put
is screaming out here right now. What is going
I
on?
also put ketchup on my eggs. I
I'm
put
lost for
ketchup
words
on my
here.
eggs.
The
Yeah, I
silence
put
is
ketchup.
like deafening in this podcast now. Oh my god. Oh
Yeah,
wow. Well, there we go. We got every revelation here. It only took a
yeah.
woke comment to like wake up the. Oh
See, I
no,
do I do pineapple jalapeno pizza.
no! But pineapple doesn't
Yeah,
belong in a pizza, man. It's too
it does.
sweet.
It does. It belongs there.
Oh my
Canada,
god.
Canada, Canada.
You know
You can make
what?
yeah.
We'll ask our next guest. How about that? You ask them as well. We'll see
Yes.
what they say.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
let's
we'll
do that
we'll
then.
talk about pineapple and pizza and poutine.
Yes. Phantom Wheeler, you have been spared a sentencing at the abyss. You are free to go.
Mhm.
And Remy Lee as well. Those are some interesting comments.
Yeah.
Completely understand where they're coming from. I think that you can tell a swan and cat story after this. I think they are enough where I think you can lace the choices that you made with Nora and Autumn in there. But then again, we have to question what if that's cat still, if it is her, if it's not her. There's all
Yeah.
kinds of little mysteries that open up there. So I think there's a good option to explore that if you don't. But also as well in that comment, what I think they said was good was that it's like I don't mind if it's different characters, but as long as they're there, which I think is what's going to happen. I think you're going to connect characters in this universe, and I'm all for that. If there's like other characters that emerge, new characters, and then these characters has somehow interact with them, fantastic. Give me more Pam. Pam meets all these characters. That's what I want to see. I want to see Pam and Gus holding hands in the next game. Otherwise, I'm not buying it. I hope you know that, Michelle. So I think Remy Lee, you can walk free. I will give you that as well. Who has done lovely art as well on Twitter. You should go and see it as well. They were a little bit self conscious about it. I was like, you should. I retweeted it because I was like, it's amazing. So I hope you keep doing your artwork as well. Everyone starts at a different point. So, you know, and it's really nice art as well. Lost Records page tweeted as well, which is great. So you are also free to walk because you need to make more art. So I'm going to give you that sentencing of leaving. So there you go. So Adam, we'll wrap up here because we've gone for a while. Obviously, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate having you here. Obviously, let us know what your thoughts and feelings are. Anything on in the podcast, anything that you know as well, or any other comments. Obviously, Rage Records is an open segment. We do need other people aside from Kev because he'll try and get himself back in here, even though he gave us the name, and we obviously greatly appreciate that. But yeah, let us know any thoughts, any theories, anything you want, and we can include it into Rage Records and we'll include it in the segment. Or if you've taken some issue with any of the reviews, let us know because we can happily revisit that. So we will wrap up here. I'm going to make this now because of where we're at. So we're recording the Saturday, the 26th of April. We've never had a guest on here. Obviously, Jace did one of the podcast episodes when Adam wasn't here, and Jace is part of the furniture, so that's as it is. But we've never had a guest on, and we're hoping tomorrow on the Sunday, 27th April, we will hopefully have Olivia Lepore on here, who is Swan Holloway herself. So did motion capture and VO. We are hoping that aligns and comes on. If it doesn't, this is getting cut out. But like, we are hoping to have it. We've been talking to her, and she's very keen to come on as well. So we're very excited for that. And I think for me and you, Adam, as well, it's crazy that she's our first guest as well out of anyone like to have on here, as the main character of the game. So we're very excited to do that. And obviously, stay tuned. That episode will come up as soon as possible. And yeah, we're very, very excited. Hopefully, we'll have her back on in the future as well once we've done this. And hopefully, we haven't driven her away as well, because she hasn't done it with us yet. We would like to have her back on in the future as well, where you guys can ask her questions as well, and interact with her as well. So, hopefully that all aligns as it does. But anyway, we'll wrap up here. Let us know your thoughts and feelings in the comments, as I said, and as always, well, if you are new here, please do subscribe to the channel, turn notifications, like this video. Otherwise, those reviewers, do you see them? Yes, you're going in there next. I'm going to squawk at you. It's going to come flying over and squawk, 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 and bang, you go into the abyss. That's what's going to happen. Never to be seen again. So yes, like the video, share with your friends. We're almost at 1,800 subscribers, so if you can help us get there, that'd be amazing. And the Lost Records Journal is available on all podcast services. So we're available on Spotify with the video version, Apple Podcasts. Go and check us out. You can go and rate us and download us, follow us, because you get instant access to the episodes as soon as they become available. So bear with us. We don't know what the schedule is going to look like going into next week. Obviously, we've got Olivia hopefully on, and we got other little things to be done in between it. Strange Cast will come up as well. We might even do both at the same time in smaller episodes. I don't know at the moment, but I think Lost Records is taking a bit of precedent. Either way, stay tuned. There's obviously a lot more content coming. Until next time, guys. See you later. Bye.